few years ago, I met a couple on Beausoleil Island, camping from a 21-foot pontoon boat. What surprised me was they'd been out for a month, and we're gonna stay out another 2 weeks. So I got to thinking, what would it be like to spend a few days and nights on a pontoon? Luckily, my wife Sherry loves boating and camping and suggested we leave the cruiser at home and try roughing it for a bit. Now, 6 weeks on a pontoon boat seemed crazy to me, but this couple really seemed to be enjoying themselves at a fraction of the cost of a big express cruiser. With our F-250 loaded with gear, all we needed was a boat. Fortunately, we have great partners, and our friends at Central Marine were willing to loan us a brand new Godfrey AquaPatio for our experiment. Central Muskoka isn't on the water, but Central Wabashin is. They've got a great launch ramp and are less than 20 clicks from Beausoleil. Unfortunately, it started raining the moment we arrived. Determined not to let the weather get us down, this gave us an excellent chance to go through the Godfrey AquaPatio 235 cruise in detail. We needed to put the full enclosure up so we'd have protection from the elements. This option starts with both bow and stern bimini tops. A center panel connects the two biminis, and then we can start the sides. The bow and stern panels have 3 layers with a screen, window, and privacy panel. The side panels are window and privacy panels only. Pro tip, unzip the top a little bit. It'll loosen off the canvas and make it much easier to zip the verticals. Easy peasy. This boat comes with dual batteries, allowing us to entertain without having to worry too much about power. At the helm, there is tilt steering, multifunction gauges with SIMRAD GPS front and center. There is a Polk Audio AM/FM Sirius Bluetooth stereo and a handy-dandy cell phone holder right next door. Rocker switches operate the many cockpit interior lights and exterior lighting, including docking and underwater lights. This boat is also equipped with a washdown shower option. The captain's chair is very comfortable and features a tilting backrest and tilting armrests. It swivels and slides and even has a flip-up bolster. All of the seats feature premium vinyl, and in terms of storage, there is molded storage under every seat to keep our things nice and dry, and some clever sliding trays to keep smaller items in place. For larger items, the rear storage has access from the top and the side. Under the helm console is space to stow the tables, and these sturdy drink holder armrests, which can be mounted on any bench. If you opt for the full third log, you get an absolutely enormous ski locker. And this stretches all the way back to the fuel tank and almost all the way forward to the front of the boat. This AquaPatio has not 1, not 2, but 3 garbage cans. This is a pontoon boat made for camping. Mother Nature finally changed her mind and we got all our garbage sorted out, so we started our trek for Beausoleil Island. Wabashin Bay can be a bit tricky to navigate, so keep an eye on the charts and the red buoys to port on your way out. Once clear of the shallows, we get a chance to enjoy the ride while soaking in a little sun and scenery. Well, we have this 23-footer loaded with gear, at least 500 pounds worth. And we're still managing to do almost 40 kilometers an hour with the little 150. Now, I think if I was going to buy this boat, I'd probably put the 250 on it. It does have all 3 full logs, so you can put at least 250 horsepower on it. But I mean, 40K an hour with a 150? Not bad fully loaded up. At just over 8 kilometers from top to bottom, Beausoleil is the largest island within Georgian Bay Islands National Park, the world's largest freshwater archipelago. There are dozens of protected anchorages in and around Beausoleil, but if you're nervous of anchoring overnight, Parks Canada maintains a number of docks with day and overnight mooring permits. Upon arrival, we're not surprised to find a few boats tied up out front at Toby Dock. This is a popular spot that remains active well into October. Since it was fairly late in the season, we phoned ahead to see if we could arrange a guided tour of the main campground and visitor center at Cedar Springs. We were in luck. Martha MARPOLE, Visitor Experience Manager for the park, was still available to show us around.
The park is in operation from May long weekend until Thanksgiving. We have approximately 100 campsites. Some are considered moderately front country, but we also have some primitive backcountry campsites as well.
If you are not interested in staying in a tent, there are other options.
Camping's not for everyone, and so fortunately we have some roofed accommodation options as well. We have some beautiful cabins that sleep 4 people, and they have double beds, queen-size beds. They're really, really beautiful. We do have shower facilities as well at some of our comfort stations. However, at the more primitive campsites, we do not have showers at those locations. In case our visitors forget a few extra items along the way, we do have bug spray, we have hot coffee in our visitor center, which seems to be a lifesaver for a lot of the visitors.
And if the water isn't enough to keep the kids entertained all day, you will find a sandy playground a short walk from the visitor center.
We have many different hiking trails that take you either in the more northern, rugged part of the island and some right around this area of Cedar Springs. We also have some biking trails. Something that makes Georgian Bay Islands National Park very special is the fact that there are 33 different species of reptiles and amphibians protected here. So the greatest variety of reptiles and amphibians found anywhere else in Canada. It's wonderful to see people year after year come and re-experience this place because it's never the same. It's a dynamic, ever-changing, and wonderful place to visit.
As boaters, we love the support we get from the park and its staff. The docks are kept in great shape, garbage and recycling containers are emptied daily, bagged firewood and kindling is available at reasonable prices and is even delivered to many of the docks around the park. With our own supply of firewood loaded and a few munchies prepared by Sherry, we were off to find a site of our own for the evening. Later in the show, we continue our tour around Beausoleil Island. After leaving Cedar Springs, we continued heading north around Beausoleil. And man, did we pick the right day for this pontoon camping adventure. Running north along the east side, we find Thumb Point, with smooth, flat rocks and a breathtaking 270-degree view of Beausoleil Bay. As we continue north, we pass Taunch, Wanakita, Sandpiper, and McCabe, all with docks maintained for boaters by Parks Canada. Perhaps the most protected of them, Ojibwe, with room for a dozen or more mid-sized cruisers. Around the corner at the northern end, we find the Oaks and Chimney, tucked away in Chimney Bay. Pontoon boats are perfect for this kind of exploring. They're comfortable, stable, and don't draw a lot of water. High water levels this season have diminished the sandy shoreline somewhat, but there's just enough to beach our tune for a short break. Many of these sites offer elevated camping platforms that will keep you high and dry. No more tree roots down the middle of your sleeping bag. If you bring food ashore, be sure to store all of it in the campground food storage lockers when not in use. You don't want to attract any unwanted visitors. Most of our boat testing happens in a couple of hours, but you really need a couple of days to truly understand just how comfortable these pontoon boats are. What do you think?
Pretty sweet.
And the best thing is, if you find just the right spot, they are very easy to beach. We had a few places in mind that we wanted to visit. Since the overnight forecast was dead calm, we thought we might be able to spend the night on the more exposed west side of the island. Since the sun would soon be setting, we decided to take the shortest route back around the southern tip of Beausoleil and head towards the Gin Islands. With the sky not looking too friendly, we put the enclosure back up in preparation for our overnight stay on the AquaPatio. 200 meters off the western shore of Beausoleil sits a pair of small islands, popular for day trips. Rising only a few meters out of the water and exposed to winds from the north and west, the Gin Islands have that smooth, windswept beauty that influenced the group of 7 artists. But the very exposure responsible for this rugged beauty poses certain risks to a boat, and you must pay close attention to the wind and wave forecast. But the southeast corner of Gin Rock Island is somewhat protected and has a tiny little beach affording shore access. We've been here before, and it's one of our favorite shorelines to walk. When the water is warm, it's a great spot for swimming and snorkeling. With the sun getting low, we had just enough time to walk around Gin before breaking out the sleeping bags. Well, Cher, a perfect end to a perfect day. What do you think of this pontoon camping?
Pretty amazing.
Night, Sherry Ann.
Good night, John Boy.
Back out on the Gin Islands, we awoke to some less than ideal weather. After a beautifully calm and quiet night at Gin Rock Island, we awake to find the sky has turned gray and it started to rain. With a hankering for a fresh cup of joe, we decide to make a run to one of those sites with a gazebo to whip up some brunch. If you're gonna go camping in a pontoon boat, you're definitely gonna need to get a full enclosure to keep the cold out, to keep the bugs out. There's a couple things surprising about these enclosures. One, we're going along at about 30 kilometers an hour, and it's pretty quiet in here. I thought there'd be a lot more wind noise. And two, it's only 15 degrees today Celsius, and it's really chilly outside without this enclosure. But once we put the windows up, I actually took my coat off. So it's really surprising how comfortable this boat is with the enclosure up. I could cruise for a couple of hours like this. Navigating in the rain can be tricky. Navionics is a valued asset, but visibility is limited, and it helps to have a second pair of eyes hunting for marker buoys. See it? Oh, good eyes, babe, good eyes. Some of the campsites on Beausoleil have covered gazebos you can hide out in. Pretty much perfect for brewing a late morning coffee in the rain. If you're a tool guy like me, we have a better way. Portable coffee grinder to go. A quick check of the forecast showed the sun coming back out, and this spot would be perfect for a campfire. But first, we needed to grab a few things for dinner. We took the northern route around Beausoleil Island on our way to Honey Harbor. The sun was coming out, and we were in no rush to get there. The northern route features numerous bays and anchorages, each with their own unique feel. Along the way, we would pass the Beausoleil Island Lighthouse, which is still in operation today. Midsummer, this water is packed with boaters. After Labor Day, however, when the kids go back to school, boat traffic drops right off. Temperatures will vary, but the boating around here remains viable well into October. If you want to avoid crowds, fall is the ideal time to book a boating vacation. If arriving by boat, the town dock has a few slips you can use for quick visits. Across the street, the general store is our first stop and has pretty much everything you'd need for a week on the water.
S'mores. Oh, yes.
Ooh, what do they have in
You gotta have
Hey, honey.
Oh, no.
Pyro saloon?
Not so much.
Fireworks are not permitted in the park, so it's a good thing my wife doesn't let me get carried away. But what she doesn't know... If you need to restock any alcohol, there is a liquor store in town and a candy shop. And just down the road is the Hive, with cottage supplies and an awesome patio view. Before leaving Honey Harbor, you must take advantage of the big red chair. It is perfect for selfies. The boardwalk offers a great view of the harbor. Stocked up with a few treats, we headed back to Tonch for the evening. Upon our return to Tonch, we randomly bump into a few old friends, part of a group we met when we first started boating on Georgian Bay, the self-proclaimed Redneck Yacht Club. With the sun getting low, it was time to use some of the wood we'd purchased at Cedar Springs and start a campfire. But before we do, we make sure to register with Parks Canada. There is a small fee to overnight on the dock, but it is well worth it. You don't have to mess with an anchor, and you aren't stuck using the onboard porta potty. Parks Canada maintains washrooms with composting toilets cleaned every day within walking distance. Getting a fire going from start can be a challenge for some of us. You need kindling, you need some newspaper, you maybe even need some accelerant like some wax or something, the sawdust, or you can get yourself a redneck fire starter. With beautiful Georgian Bay in the background, it didn't take long for the storytelling to begin. With the fire roaring, it was time to bring out the little surprise I'd picked up at the general store. Amazing how a few sparklers will bring out the kids in us all. Now, as a child, I always did this.
Oh, look at that. Well, I'm a child.
Right?
Yeah.
Enjoying a campfire on a boat trip is one of our favorite aspects of a Parks Canada campground. Not only do they permit fires in designated pits, but they provide wood to burn at a reasonable price. While it may not be for everyone, pontoon camping is definitely doable. We won't be selling our cruiser anytime soon, but this type of boat is a close second when it comes to exploring the waterways in comfort and style.